Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. I hope you guys are doing great. Can you feel it? Can you feel how close we are getting to perhaps disclosure? Well, this won't go away, and this is Oumuamua. And so, if you guys don't remember, this is a quote-unquote rock that's curiously cylindrical in shape that came into the inner reaches of our solar system, wrapped itself around the sun, utilizing the sun's gravitational pull, and basically sending it back out into deep space. Admittedly, this was something that didn't come from around here, according to the scientists, and that was like the first interstellar object that we were going to have visibly make note of, and that would come into our area and then go out. And it just won't, this story won't die because they keep adding a little bit more to it all the time. And so this is really very, very curious. And as it says here, now this is out of Russia today. I have two other ones here out of physics.org, phys.org, and also out of the Daily Mail. And there's about 15 at least stories, all talking about the same thing. So this is well reported. And you have to think about where this ultimately comes from, this story, as we're going to look. Interstellar mystery rock Oumuamua might have been part of an alien reconnaissance mission, according to two Harvard Smithsonian astronomers. Harvard Smithsonian astronomers. Okay, so we make note of that, because obviously the Smithsonian's all about cover-ups. You know, Harvard and Yale, and there's other ones as well. You know, a lot of those, a lot of the top Illuminati come out of those schools as well. So in other words, you know, this is part of disclosure. This is part of what they want to get across to us at this point in time. So again, they are saying it could be a light-driven probe. So as the strange rock moved out of our solar system last September, it sped up instead of slowing down, as would be expected. Observers dismissed the acceleration as the result of a release of gas from within the rock. But astronomers Shmuel Bialy and Abraham Loeb are rethinking the whole matter, reasoning that if Oumuamua had been merely a comet undergoing outgassing, the release would have set the object to spinning. Instead, it remained flat. And the astronomers believe that could be by design. And now, you know, as I read that, I'm thinking, well, I remembered when we first saw it, I thought they were saying that this was tumbling, and that this was a cylindrical shape, which would be the obvious shape you would want to have for a long interstellar probe, a long interstellar motherships, something along those lines. And coincidentally, when we hear people talk about the ships of the Draco, and there's so much I could talk about on these topics, and if you follow the channel, you know, this is not like the main topic, but I as far as like how much I've researched it and gone into it, it's one of my main interests. And so, you know, the Draco, they're everywhere in our culture. They're everywhere on our planet as far as the leftover evidence of them, as we can see over here. Clearly, they are what we envision as demonic. Clearly, when we think of a demon, or even like, you know, a vampire, think in terms of, oh gosh, what was the name of that movie with Kate Beckinsale in it? There was a whole series of them. Well, I think it was the second movie in the series, Underworld. There's a really good example of a Draco in that one. And so we could see these beings, these reptilian beings, you know, which, anyway, the Draco ships are supposed to be that shape, cylindrical. And so, you know, it makes you really wonder about this as well. Because, I mean, I feel, in reality, I feel like these things are real. And that is my preference. I like to let you guys make up your own decision on things. Everybody should make up their own decision. It's just a matter of looking at evidence and going and deciding for yourself and weighing things for yourself. And so now they're coming out with this, that Oumuamua could be powered by a force exerted on its surface by sunlight. Bialy and Loeb concluded. Such a means of power would allow, say, an alien probe to travel farther into the universe with nothing but light needed to fuel it. While there's a possibility that the object is merely an abnormally thin, extremely large, natural occurring piece of interstellar rock, I doubt it. It didn't emit any radio signals detectable by human instruments. They speculate it could be a defunct light sail. Space detritus fallen from a long-gone ship. Bialy and Loeb are serious about the possibility Oumuamua may have been deliberately constructed by extraterrestrials. Loeb calculated that for it to be a random object following a random orbit, there would have to be 100 million more times more of its type hanging around the solar system. Their calculations also indicate that it's the perfect thickness to withstand collisions with space dust, gas, and planetary forces without adding so much mass as to render it incapable of sailing. And it looks and acts a lot like the Starshot initiative and the Icarus project, both of which humans built to do pretty much the same thing that astronomers think Oumuamua was doing. So they're leaking this out, that this is basically probably an interstellar ship. And this was quite large, and it's quite mysterious, or is it? And so the thing that's seriously interesting is the fact that this is coming from the Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysicists. Seriously? This is coming from them? Wow. Because they've spent their entire life, the Smithsonian, its entire existence has been all about keeping us in the dark. So many people right now are saying, well, yeah, that's what they're doing too, because in reality the world is flat and there are no aliens, and it's just us in this entire everything. We are the only ones in this existence, and there's a nice white man with long flowing beard and long hair that lives in a cloud and oversees everything, and he has angels that do all the work for us and or work for him and stuff. And this is all fake. There's not myriads of different types of life out there. There's not even other planets out there. There's just us and this guy in the cloud. Which obviously, the more we get into all this, and here you're looking at the Icarus space probe with solar sail in flight, and we've seen these type of things depicted in, I think it was in Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey, and other sci-fi movies, that this is exactly what they would try to utilize in order to travel interstellarly. So I think it's pretty obvious, especially when we start looking at all the cultures around the world, all the legends around the world. You have all these different tribes that, just say, hey, our ancestors come from out there. Look at the Dogon tribe. And so, there's evidence everywhere. Every single culture, all around the world, all say the same thing. Our ancestors came from the stars. So, reality is much more like Star Trek and Star Wars than it is, some of the stories that we have been given. And you could see, guys, it's not just the